Thank you, Mr.
Gentleman
Chairman.
is recognized for 5 minutes.
Definitely no objections for me to go first. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and again, thank our witnesses for being here. Thank you for your years of honorable service to our country and what you do for our men and women in uniform. Now, I've received some personal briefings on the issue that we're discussing today, and the one question that continues to come up over and over again for me personally is, where's the benefit of the reductions? Where would they be? Perhaps I am under the misconception that the aircraft movements and retirements were made with the intention of saving money, especially when the Secretary is asking for another round of BRAC closings. But from every angle, it seems that the movement of aircraft in many cases will actually cost more in the long run. Let me give you an example. Under the force structure changes, about 10 aircraft were scheduled to leave Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi to move to Dobbins Reserve Base in Atlanta. Not only does Dobbins not have the appropriate facilities to house and provide for an active duty component, but it is my understanding that the hangars at Dobbins are not capable of housing the C-130J stretch model aircraft. Unless I am totally mistaken, this means that there is billions of dollars of MILCON that will be required just to move these aircraft that are suited perfectly for Keesler and the facilities there. So my question is, can you explain why at a time when we're all talking about the cost of doing business and driving down costs in this tight fiscal environment that we're in, the Air Force is making decisions that will actually increase costs? General Miller.
Congressman, thank you for that question. In response to the first part of your question, why we are making the moves we're making, the aggregate requirement for airlift under the new strategic guidance, because of the types of conflicts that we've been asked to plan for under that guidance, decreased from the high 300s of tactical airlift aircraft down to 318. So we had an excess of 65 C-130 platforms that we did not need to accomplish the airlift tasks that we as an Air Force expect to have to accomplish and have been directed to plan for. That was part of achieving the savings required under the Budget Control Act. So for our total force structure reduction, we achieved about $8.7 billion worth of savings. And just in FY13 alone, about $1.4 billion of that. But in terms of what's required to sustain our Air Force and to keep the components healthy, there are some costs associated with the movement of aircraft that was required to mitigate the impact of a reduction that large. And so, for example, in the case of the move to Dobbins, while it is true that the facilities there are not exactly suited at present for the C-130J, construction of new hangars is unlikely to be necessary, and modification of the existing hangars is still an option that I believe we're investigating. And I'd be happy to provide you further information specifically on that issue.
Well, absolutely. I've asked for several months ago for answers to questions just like that. And again, from every angle that we're looking at, it just doesn't make sound business sense. And I know there's probably a possible military strategy to it, but it's just, the distance is not that far away.
Yes, sir.
It seems to me, I know they're supposed to be losing some C-130H's, and is this, hey, don't scream too loud, Dobbins, we're going to backfill with some C-130J's. But at the time, I mean, we've spent millions of dollars, not just on the hangars, but on training the personnel. And these people enjoy flying out of Keesler Air Force Base. They broke records in Afghanistan. It took them 3 to 5 years to train up. They're there. So to spin up this same group in Dobbins, it's just, it's going to take probably 3 to 5 years. We have a very expensive simulator. We've got great training grounds. So I'm looking forward to your questions and looking forward, to your answers to my questions, because I think we'll probably be having some more, discussion on them. And again, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you allowing me to be here today. I was going to ask another question with the cuts that are hitting the Air National Guard. Can y'all kind of give me the breakdown on the cuts between active duty Air Force, Reserve, and National Guard? And also, was there any disproportional cuts made to one of the components over the others? You can start off, Joe.
Sir, let me put that in perspective. As General Lowenberg mentioned, the cuts in this particular budget did fall more on the Air National Guard than they did on the active duty. If you look at a longer period of time than a single year, however, over the last 30 years, the strength of the Air National Guard has been somewhere upwards of 100,000, as high as 116,000. The strength of the active duty has decreased by about 43%, down to its current total of 332,000, and decreasing further by about 3,900 in the FY13 budget. All of those force structure, all those in-strength reductions are driven by retirement of the corresponding force structure. So in this particular era, where our active duty force is both as small as it's ever been and tasked at a very high level, one of our big concerns was to sustain our ability to deploy airmen of all components consistent with the Secretary of Defense's rotation policy. An active duty airman, the standard is to deploy one period out of every 1 period deployed for 2 non-deployed. For Guard and Reserve, 1 period deployed for 5 non-deployed. And so the active duty force is expected to perform at a higher rate of deployment, but both components have targets for what keeps them healthy. And so based on our assessment of the demand for a variety of weapon systems, the reductions that we made were our best projection of how to make each component capable of meeting the demands that we should place on it within those parameters.
The gentleman's time has expired, but if either of you would like to supplement the record with a written response to that, we would love to receive it.
Well, thank you.
Gentlelady from New York is recognized for